So, I was doing a little bit of reminiscing today as some of the people that I have interviewed in the past kind of popped back up in some ways, shapes, or forms in the past couple of weeks. I've thought back to my interactions with those people, and I was thinking I was going to share some of my best and worst interview experiences, especially for those who are newer to my channel, which is the people who just came on board this year during this Big Brother season, because unfortunately, I don't think I've had any interviews since the time this season started up until now. I think I might have had one or two this year, maybe, or maybe not. I really can't remember. It's possible that I don't have any this year, but especially for those who were not here during those times. Okay, let me start with. I'll start with the worst, and then I'll get to a couple of the best. So, the worst are the ones that never happened. Okay, so there was a few of those. Most of you know my first Big Brother interview that I ever thought that I was going to do was an interview with Indy from Big Brother season 24. If you don't remember who Indy is, Indy was the Brazilian lady. I think she was on season 24. Yeah, she was season 24. Yeah, so what happened was all these people have email addresses listed on their Instagram page. So Instagram is like the main point of contact that I use to reach out to them, unless they happen to be at an event. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the event and try to pass out business cards and try to lock in interviews live, because that's the easiest way to try. Not that it has had a super high success rate in person either, but I think you have a more likely chance when you can see them, talk to them, and they can see you, etc. But I don't know, I guess Indy's manager was like, I'm going to check with Indy. Hi, Donut. I'm going to check with Indy and I'm going to see what her schedule looks like. Then I'm going to get back to you. So it was like, I want to say it was like a Tuesday night. And she says to me, the manager reaches back out. She said, oh, Indy has Thursday at 11, I think 11 o'clock. Hello. Yeah, it's like a Thursday. The manager said she has like a Thursday 11 o'clock or so. And I was like, okay, I guess that works. I mean, it didn't really work. But the thing about these interviews is I learned that you kind of have to go by their time more than your time. So I was like, okay, I'll make it work, right? So I prepared these interview questions. And if I'm going to be totally honest and transparent here, of all the people that I wanted to interview on the interview, which at one time I was not saying on my channel, but yeah, it was my Indy interview. I thought that I was going to interview Indy. Her manager agreed. Her manager said she reached out to Indy. Indy agreed on the time, supposedly according to the manager. Then I prepared. This is the part that always gets me. My preparation game is amazing, especially when it comes to interviews, because I feel like a deep respect for people's time. If somebody took the time and agreed to take an hour or however long it is out of their schedule and spend the time with me doing the interview, right? I want to make sure that I am thoroughly prepared with my questions. So I would go the lengths of, especially for someone who only did 1 or 2 seasons of a show, I would literally watch every episode of their seasons until they got eliminated and take notes on the seasons, and then I would sit down with all my big pile of notes and then chop it down and figure out how to make this fit into an hour. And then I might look into things from their life outside of the show and ask some questions about that. So I thoroughly prepare, like, let's say for the average 1 hour interview, I'm going to give you some ballpark figures. To interview somebody for an hour, I would say I would do 4 to 5 hours of research. I'm going to have to jump out in a second. Well, I'm going to have to cut the story a little bit in a second. Yeah, so like about 4 to 5 hours of research, and then like maybe an hour to 2 of writing and revising. So I would say on her interview, I probably spent like 6 to 7 hours preparing. That's a lot. Because to be honest, I've watched many popular vloggers' interviews, and it's clear that they don't spend that much time coming up with the questions. It's very clear. So I got onto the interview. I was all prepared. I got on the Zoom. I had sent the Zoom link. See you tomorrow. The agreement was all in place. And then I sit on there. What? 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. People have been late before. So I was like, it's all good. She's going to get here eventually. 30 minutes pass. I send out another email. Hey, just reminding you about the interview this morning. I hope everything's okay. I'm sitting here on the link whenever you're ready. The manager sends me a response like, unfortunately, there was some discrepancy with her schedule and she no longer has the time available. Yeah. So essentially, she never did the interview. She never showed up. She never rescheduled. She never rescheduled. I'm gonna finish this.
Next one. Hi, Big Boss. How are you? Everything good. Where is that? Straight, huh?
Good morning. Yes, good afternoon.
One.
Yes.
Take two for 8, 1 for 6.
1 is 6?
Yes.
Oh.
2 for 8. Cheap. Okay. Card and cash.
Card.
What's up? How are you, my friend? Alright. Okay, thank you, boss.
interview didn't happen. Right. And that was supposed to be my first Big Brother interview. So what ended up becoming my actual first Big Brother interview, should I go in that order? Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. I can go in that order. What ended up being my first Big Brother interview wasn't Indy, because that interview just never happened and never got rescheduled. That person just stopped responding to my emails. Alyssa Lopez was my first Big Brother interview. So how that ended up coming about, pretty simple story, as a matter of fact, because there was a fan that was shaming her for going back to her Hooters job after Big Brother. They were like, oh, not Alyssa going back to Hooters after Big Brother, like going back to her regular job was such a big thing. And she was like, yep, I did go back to Hooters and I get good money at Hooters and good tips. And actually, when I ended up speaking to her about it, she was saying that she didn't go back. She used to work full time at Hooters, like 5 days a week. And then like 5 days a week. And then after that, when she came back, they offered to up her salary, because now she had like a little bit of a celebrity status in the local area. And so she was now doing Hooters on weekends only. And that was also dependent on her salary, her schedule. But she was talking about making, I want to say that she was telling me that she was making like a couple thousand, like 1 to 2K. Just on weekends. Sorry, I'm always eating on here, but I'm hungrier. It's like almost 1 o'clock, and this is the first thing I've eaten all day. So I made a video basically defending Alyssa and anyone who comes off of a reality TV show and goes back to their job, and people like make jokes about them going back to a job. And one of my subscribers to my channel suggested for me to send my video to Alyssa and ask her if I could interview her. And I remember telling that person, not that I don't like Alyssa, but I don't feel like I have a lot to talk about with her, so and they were like, "Don't you want to get the big ticket people?" Like, I was trying really hard to get an interview with Taylor at that time. I was tagging her on Twitter, DM'd her on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media, and email addresses or whatever she had available, and I just never got any response from anybody. But yeah, so I ended up emailing Alyssa, long story short, and we did the interview. It took a long time for me to lock in a time with her. That was the difficult part. I want to say from the time I first reached out to her, it was about 2 months before we actually did an interview. But now, having done maybe 12, 13 interviews in my vlogging career, 2 months is not even that bad compared to some other people. Like Wes Bergman interview, trust me. He said yes when my schedule allows for it. And even when he finally did the interview with me, his schedule did not actually allow for it. He was like, I feel so bad that you've been waiting this long. And he's like, he said, I have business meetings all day. And I have like an hour break in between 2 meetings. So if you can do the interview with me at this exact time, I have exactly 1 hour for you. So that's how I ended up, after 11 months or so, squeezing into Wes Bergman's schedule. And then I lucked out by getting a second interview with him, where the timing just lined up just right. Shout out to Wes. Shout out to Alyssa. I'm going to get off this soon. The most professional interview experience that I ever had was with Chaz from The Circle. He was professional from A to Z. He made a post on Twitter. He was like, anyone who would like to get an interview with me, I'm filling my February and March schedules right now. Reached out to him. He said, thanks for your inquiry. Please send me a couple paragraphs about what you want to interview me about, and give me some samples of your YouTube channel so I can review your YouTube channel and see if it matches up with my branding type thing. And I'll get back to you. So I did that. This is my channel. These are my examples of what I've done before. Check it out. Blah blah blah. And he got back to me. He was like, these are the dates that I have available. March, this, and this. He says, as I know that this is a month down the line, your schedule or my schedule could change. So if mine does, I will give you a heads up. And if yours does, please give me the same courtesy. I said, cool. So then as the time got closer, he said to me, please give me a list of questions so that I can know what to expect, blah, blah, blah. So I gave him the list of questions. He showed up on time. He did the interview with me and Danny, my friend Danny. And that was that. So that was some of my best and worst. There were 2 other interviews that I was going to mention, but I'll just glance over this part real quick. 2 other people I was supposed to interview. One from Survivor, one from Big Brother. So that's 3 dub interviews where I spent hours putting the interview questions together. Nobody said anything to me. One of them canceled. One of them never canceled. They just no-showed. Another one hit me up an hour before the interview and said that they were working double shift at work, so we'll have to never rescheduled. I read several times, never rescheduled. And the one, let's see, who was the third one? Oh yeah, the third one, I had the interview already and prepared, and then I even hit them up the day before, like, are you ready? They said that they're ready. Then they showed me a message from CBS that essentially told them that they could not do the interview, otherwise they'll be sued. Okay, they didn't even know what I was going to ask in the interview to say that. But anyways, that was that. That's some of the best and some of the worst. And I might be back later. We'll see. Talk to you later. Like, comment, subscribe, all that amazing stuff.